Well, hello there, you beautiful sons and daughters of the Most High God. Here we are again, and I wanted to take the opportunity to continue our Just a Thought uh, from our last little visit. We ended up on our last little conversation finding that the only way we can really know our identity, that is, who we really are, is by first knowing who He really is, the real Jesus, and that He then can make that known to us who we really are. And in that is our truest identity. The way the Bible speaks of this is, say, an example of being born again. And Jesus talked about this in John 3rd chapter, and he said, unless we are born again, we cannot see or understand or conceive an understanding of what is the kingdom of God. But once we're born again, our eyes are opened. I'd like to liken that to Adam and Eve being placed in the garden. All of a sudden, things become alive all around us, and we start to understand the goodness of God. Now, just as in the Garden of Eden there was so much for Adam and Eve to enjoy, there was clearly mentioned two specific trees in the garden, one being the tree of life and the other being the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. One would produce life forevermore. The other, God sorely warned, if you eat of that tree, if you become involved with that tree, it will kill you. You will die. Now, I'd like to just point at that and say, after you're born again, there's a ability to begin eating of the tree of life, and it's so good. But then there's also then temptation that comes along of what I'd like to call religion, that wants to entice us to believe that we need to eat also of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And I believe with all my heart that God's warning is true. When we become a partaker of that tree, it will bring a death to us. What does that look like? Well, we start to try to perceive and understand what's right and what's wrong, what's good and what's evil, instead of living by the revelation of what's life and the tree of life. Does that mean we should have no recognition of doing of our works being godly? Not at all. Not at all. But what it does speak of is that to understand and see the kingdom of God and how we can there live in that kingdom now must be by the same way that we understood our identity and became born again. And that's out of relationship with Jesus Christ. Then we can live and understand how to live, not by a rigid set of rules of religion telling us, well, what is acceptable and what is not acceptable, but rather a much higher calling to live and live by the Spirit of the living God, The Bible puts it this way: if we're led by the Spirit of the Lord, then we are truly the sons and daughters of God. That sums it up. To be led of the Spirit is life and peace. To be led of the carnal or the natural, the Bible sums it up this way and says, the natural mind is not subject to the law of God. Neither can it be. It can't be. God has designed us to live true, real life by a revelation of Himself, a relationship with Him by the Spirit of God. That's going to be it for our little chat this week, but I'll continue along the same line and hopefully give a little more explanation to these things. Again, thank you so much for all the wonderful comments that people make and letting me know that you receive these and you appreciate them, and that that you're there. Why do I do this? Well, simple, because I love you. All right, bye-bye.